Hi Mia, my name is Miss Jordan and I'll be your counselor for today. Before we get started, I do want to go over something very important known as confidentiality. Confidentiality is basically that everything you say today is solely between us unless it involves an issue of you seriously harming yourself, others, or someone is seriously harming you. So do you have any other further questions about confidentiality before we get started? Perfect. I do want to remind you that this is a safe space today in the counseling center and it is a completely judgment-free zone. And I'm so very glad to see you in here today. So what brings you in? Mia says, I've been feeling a lot of anxiety lately, especially before tests and presentations. I can't sleep the night before and it is extremely overwhelming and exhausting. I say thank you for sharing that. Anxiety can be very difficult and it can feel like it is running your life at times. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being my anxiety is taking over and it is at an ultimate high, and 10 being I feel very calm and confident, where would you say you're at today? Mia says, I would say I'm at about a 4. I say, okay, a 4 is a good start. Why are you at a 4 and not a 5? She says, I feel a little nervous about my test tomorrow. I don't feel well rested or prepared. I say, when would you say is the last time you had a 7 or an 8, an overall better day? She says, probably about last Friday. I say, okay, tell me about that day last week. What made it a better day than today? She says, last Friday I felt okay before math quiz because I studied the night before and I got a decent amount of sleep as well. I also listened to my favorite songs on my way to school that day, and that usually helps me stay calm and it decreases my anxiety. I say, okay, that's great that you're able to have days where things work out better in your favor and your anxiety is lower. What did you do that day that you could probably do more often to decrease your anxiety? Mia says, I think actually studying and preparing the day before helped a lot, and listening to music always helps me stay calm and lowers my anxiety a lot. So maybe I could do that a lot more often and just set aside more time to study and set aside more time to listen to music. I say that's great insight, and you're already able to identify the things that you need to help yourself through this, which is very important. So we are going in the right direction. Next time we can discuss more ways to make the good days more often for you if that's something you want to do. I do want to end this session with asking you a random imaginative question. So suppose that when you're sleeping tonight, a miracle happens, and that miracle is that your anxiety is completely gone, but you don't know that your anxiety is gone because you were asleep. What would be different and tell you that your anxiety is gone? What would be the signs that your anxiety has decreased? Mia says, I'd wake up with no tight chest and a sense of excitement instead of a sense of dread for the day. I said, what would your day look like after that? I'd most likely eat breakfast without feeling sick afterwards. I would get to school on time and have an overall easy morning and just feel more like myself. My mornings are always very hectic and chaotic because I have so many siblings and there's just so many things going on, and it just makes me so anxious with everything happening before school. Maybe I'd even feel confident enough to raise my hand in one of my classes. I say that is a very powerful statement, and I think if we continue our sessions, we will be able to reach a solution that gets you what you just described, that gets you your perfect day. And we can also reach solutions that gets you what you overall desire, which is a stress-free and anxiety-free life. I would like to see you next week if that's something you'd like to do as well. Is that something you'd like to do, Mia? He says, yeah, I think this will really help. I say, okay, great. I'll see you then. Thank you so much for coming in. So Mia is 17, struggles academically, but she didn't struggle prior to her anxiety. She has always been very high up in her class, but ever since her last few years in high school, her anxiety just has gotten worse, and you can see a decline in her academics. She has a 2-parent household. Her parents are extremely involved, but she has 7 siblings. So that's why when she was describing her morning, she was describing them as hectic because there's just so much going on because there's so many people around her in the mornings. She has never visited the counseling center prior to this encounter. She is struggling with testing and social anxiety, and her goal is to acquire tools and skills to help her live an anxiety-free life. Solution-focused brief counseling is very effective for Mia because it focuses on hope, strength, and solutions rather than solely focusing on her problem. This approach offers a positive path to solve her problems and slowly allows her to build her self-confidence, which will be great in the overall run. Perfect. Thank you.